Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktisiddhanta Swaminiti Namani Namaste Sarasvati Devi Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shunyadi Paschati Dishatarini Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. Continuing with our reading from Sri Bhaktisiddhanta Vaibhav, the glory and grandeur of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. We are on chapter 3 of volume 1, which is early days of the mission. So we came to the point of the time when Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur took sannyas just after the departure of his two gurus. So subtopic, Sannyas and Shri Chaitanya Math. In 1914, just a few weeks before passing away, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur had expressed his manobhishta, internal, his mind expressed his internal desire to Sri Siddhanta Saraswati, instructing him to establish Daiva Varnashram, preach Shuddha Bhakti, develop Mayapur, and publish Vaishnava writings. These are the 4 tasks he was given by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Establish Varnashram, preach Shuddha Bhakti, develop Mayapur, and publish Vaishnava writings. So he was doing that. We can see that the Varnashram movement is not started by Prabhupada. Bhaktivinoda Thakur had the desire, Bhaktisiddhanta. It follows Bhakti. Whenever Bhakti is preached, Varnashram is there, because it's the proper way that Bhakti can be executed and preached through Varnashram. Here now is a writing by, I think it's Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Worldly people who are proud of their aristocratic birth cannot attain to actual aristocracy. Therefore, they attack pure Vaishnavas, claiming that they have taken birth in low-class families because of their sins. Thus, they commit offenses. The means to rectify this situation is to institute Daiva Varnashrama Dharma. You have started to do that. Know it to be real service to Vaishnavas. This is Bhaktivinoda Thakur's message to Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Due to lack of Shuddha Bhakti Siddhanta Prachar, all manner of womanish bad theories and instructions are being called devotion by pseudo-sampradayas such as Sahajya and Ativadi. All as crush these anti-devotional conceptions by Bhaktisiddhanta Prachar and proper Achar. Try to begin the parikram of Sridham Navadvip as soon as possible. Thereby everyone in the universe can receive Krishna Bhakti. Diligently endeavor to ensure that service to Sri Mayapur becomes permanently established and more resplendent each day. Genuine service to Sri Mayapur is not Nirjan Bhajan, but to establish a printing press and to propagate devotional books and Nam Hatta. Important point, that serving Mayapur does not mean going there and just doing bhajan there, but propagate devotional books and Namahatta. Namahatta is the system of preaching where there are weekly meetings of different, mostly householders for preaching bhakti. Do not, for your own sake, undertake Nirjan Bhajan and thus impede the preaching and service to Sri Mayapur. When I am no longer present, take care to serve your very dear Mayapur Dham. This is my special instruction to you. People who are like animals can never attain devotion, never accept their advice. But do not let them know this, either directly or indirectly. Just don't listen to them. I had a special desire to propagate the importance of such books as Srimad Bhagavatam, Shat Sandarbha and Vedanta Darshan. Now you must assume that responsibility. Sri Mayapur will prosper if you inaugurate an educational institution there. Never try to amass knowledge or money for your own sense gratification. They should be acquired only for Krishna's service. Never take bad association, either for money or any personal interest. This is the end of his instruction to Siddhanta Saraswati. What is significant is Srila Prabhupada continued all this. Our Srila Prabhupada, ISKCON, he continued all of this. Established Mayapur, preached Shuddha Bhakti by pointing out the non-bona fide gurus and institutions, published Vaishnava writings, and Varnashram. Prabhupada said this is his mission. Same thing. Okay, the narration continues. The message is over, narration. The time had come for Sri Siddhanta Saraswati to realize this mandate. Even during his years of withdrawn bhajan in Mayapur, he had always meditated on fulfilling the desires of his gurus by undertaking to make Shuddha Bhakti available to all humankind. It was for this that he had come to the world and been trained by his pure devotee father and made extensive studies and research and performed severe austerities, everything just to preach Shuddha Bhakti. Why we say Shuddha Bhakti? Because Bhakti was there, but covered. Bhakti, sense gratification, covered. Karma Mishra, Jnana Mishra, with touches of impersonalism and wrong conclusions. It said with proper Bhaktisiddhanta, proper conclusions. Even his polemic encounters in astronomy had helped ready him for similar battles concerning matters of even greater spheres beyond. Even his encounters with astronomy, he was doing astronomy. But this was also for the same purpose, for establishing bhakti. Now, fully prepared, Sri Siddhanta Saraswati began a new chapter in his life. Wholesale war on Maya. He inaugurated it by taking sannyas on Gaura Jayanti, 27th March 1918 in Vrajapatna, having spent the previous day incessantly chanting Harinam. He took sannyas in Gaur Purnima. His head covered with a cloth. Seeing no one suitable to act as his sannyas guru, Sri Siddhanta Saraswati accepted sannyas by taking a tridandi and sitting in meditation in front of a picture of Sri Gaura Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj. Thus, at age 44, Sri Siddhanta Saraswati became Sri Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami. Consequently, by his disciples, well-wishers and friends, his disciples, well-wishers and friends became overwhelmed with grief, as had Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's associates upon his taking sannyas. And the pilgrims present for the Gaur Purnima festival joined Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati's direct followers in wailing and crying. The incident of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taking sannyas is described in Saraswati Jayashri. The associates of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had lamented upon his abandoning his family and because of his imminent departure from home and their association. But Sri Siddhanta Saraswati had been a brahmachari from birth, nor was it likely that he would forsake his association with them. For on the same day that he accepted sannyas, he established a new temple in Mayapur. Same day. Took sannyas, established a temple, Sri Chaitanya Mat. Furthermore, whereas Mahaprabhu's associates were distressed by his giving up his beautiful hair and entering a life of severe difficulty, Sri Siddhanta Saraswati had been observing rigorous austerities even prior to its formal acceptance of sannyas. Therefore, it's unknown why the followers of Siddhanta Saraswati grieved upon his entering renounced order. It's not known. On the day he took sannyas, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati also established Sri Chaitanya Mat. You've seen that. You have not seen. We'll see it in Mayapur. revealing service to the deities Sri Gandharvika Giridhari alongside the deity of Lord Chaitanya, before whom he had performed his vow of chanting 1 billion names. Same deity. Gandharvika Giridhari. More details are given in this book. For further discussion on possible, let's see, further on in the book. So Gandharvika Giridhari, many Gaudiya temples were established. That is Radha Krishna. Gandharvika Giridhari. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati remained in Mayapur for some days to oversee the newly inaugurated deity service, then ventured into the preaching field. He had many followers by now, so they took care. He went to preach. He already knew many people receptive to his message, including followers of his exalted father and those contacted during his own initial preaching forays. Now, with the assistance of a growing group of talented young men living with him in Mayapur, he wanted to systematically expand the preaching. Among them, Sripad Paramananda, Sripad Kunja Bihari, Sripad Jagadish, Sripad Ananta Vasudev, and Sripad Vinod Bihari were from the beginning leaders of his mission and pivotal in its development. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati started his movement with these few helpers and practically no funds, but with quite a few enemies. The majority of these initial adherents were from comfortable backgrounds. Not that, they were not well off. They gave up just like Bhaktisiddhanta, 6 Goswamis. Yet they voluntarily embraced poverty to inherit the abundant spiritual riches offered by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. Another part which will come, maybe we won't go through it now, is that it's mentioned by the author how generally in Bengali society the mother is very caring for the child, and therefore Prabhupada had expression that the preachers should have the heart of an Englishman. No, what was it? Compassion of a Bengali mother, but the heart of an Englishman. Their preaching spirit should be like British, how they went and conquered. But the compassion should be like the heart of a Bengali mother. But he said one thing, the fact that they left home means he was more compassionate, Bhaktisiddhanta. Some say he was cruel, very heavy, very strict. But ultimately, they gave up very comfortable and affectionate families, which means that they found more compassion in them. At the end of March at Krishnanagar Town Hall, Srila Saraswati Thakur gave an exhaustively researched lecture titled Vaishnav Darshan. In May 1918, he spent 10 days with several disciples at a Vaishnav conference at Daulatpur, Prapanna Ashram, near Khulna, where he initiated 2 new disciples and established Bhaktivinod Asan as a center for Vaishnav gatherings and propagation of Shuddha Bhakti. One respected resident of Daulatpur, Pandit Sri Ram Gopal Vidyabhushan, dressed fashionably and sported a French-cut beard. From early youth, he had been addicted to tobacco and chewing, and every few minutes popped more into his mouth. Srila Saraswati Thakur told him, "The Vaishnavas will prepare and give you the most fragrant varieties of tobacco from India and throughout the world, which you may bring 100 yards away into the field and offer to Krishna. All intoxicants are under Krishna's monopoly, to be accepted only as ingredients for his enjoyment. By trying to enjoy that meant for Krishna's pleasure, the jiva becomes a slave of intoxication. If we offer tobacco to Krishna, his senses are satisfied. But if we enjoy it ourselves, it will gradually reduce our sensory potency and humanness." I think he's telling him to offer the tobacco. These words pierced the heart of the Pandit, who thereupon quit forever both his lifelong tobacco habit and his fashionable style of dress, instead donning a simple dhoti and Punjabi kurta, long kurta. After returning to Mayapur, Srila Siddhanta Saraswati went to Calcutta on 7 June and performed several programs of Hari Katha and Nam Kirtan in the homes of respectable people. Then he led a group of 23 disciples on a pilgrimage cum preaching tour to Orissa, culminating with participation in Lord Jagannath's Rath Yatra in Puri. Upon returning to Calcutta about a month later, he skirmished with a foolhardy rascal who presented 29 provocative questions concerning the history and relationship between Bhaktivinoda Thakur and Gorakishore Das Babaji Maharaj and Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati himself. In a meeting convened in the house of a gentleman who had been a follower of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati furiously routed and silenced the antagonist. So mostly we see Bhaktisiddhanta was preaching in Mayapur, traveling around. Now next section here, establishing himself in Calcutta. Srila Saraswati Thakur already had a base in Mayapur, the most important place in the universe, and was committed to developing it. But he also felt the need to preach in Calcutta, that time capital of India, and most important financial and cultural center. In those days, Mayapur was remote and surrounded by jungle. In those days, Mayapur was remote and surrounded by jungle, whereas Calcutta was a multitudinous and fashionable metropolis throbbing with cultural and intellectual verve. It was said, "What Bengal thinks today, others will think someday, tomorrow. What Bengal thinks today, others will think tomorrow." And Calcutta was the fulcrum of a Bengal and an India immersed in tradition, yet tipping toward the new, and India not only befuddled about her own culture, means confused, but moreover exposed to modern breeds of bemusement. Although till recently it had been the seat of the Raj, the colony, and was still lauded as the gem crowning the vast overseas possessions of the mighty Britain, Calcutta was also the volatile center of opposition to foreign rule. Thus, it was an ideal locus for propaganda efforts and much in need of it. Both British and Indians alike had to be informed that bodily differences of nationality and race were insignificant, everyone being intimately related as eternal servants of the Supreme Proprietor of all nations, and that adjustments on the material plane are temporary and therefore useless. In a few months after establishing Sri Chaitanya Math at Mayapur, Srila Saraswati Thakur came to Calcutta for a short visit, during which he gave lectures at Bhakti Bhavan. Bhakti Bhavan is where he had already established, Bhaktivinoda Thakur had established it. A regular listener, Srisa Rai Chaudhary, once supplicated him, "Your doctrine of Mahaprabhu is certainly glorious and powerful and unparalleled. But how many seekers will come to Mayapur to hear you? Calcutta is a huge cosmopolitan city with people from all over the world. If we can arrange for you to stay here, faithful persons from diverse places will have the good fortune to hear you." Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati acceded, and by November 1918, Kunja Bihari Prabhu, assisted by Srila Babu, Srisha Babu and others, had located a suitable house at, where was that address? Ulta Dingi. Number 1 Ulta Dingi Junction Road. It's written here Ulta Dingi. It would have been Ulta Danga. It got changed. It explained that Ulta Dingi Danga means upside down boat. But then gradually the name changed. Just a few hundred yards from the spectacular landmark Parshvanath Jain Temple. Here it's written, Ulta Dingi is now known as Ulta Danga. So that was established just after Sri Chaitanya Math was established as important center in Calcutta for preaching. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati acceded, and by November 1918, Kunja Bihari Prabhu, assisted by Srisha Babu and others, had located a suitable house at number 1 Ulta Dingi Junction Road. Although Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati established 7 more Bhaktivinoda asanas before founding the Gaudiya Math. This one in Calcutta became known among his followers as the Bhaktivinoda asana, it being the hive of an enjoyed preaching movement. Actually, Bhaktivinoda asana was something like branches. You have like Gaudiya Math, ISKCON. So they said this was the center, main one. Other Bhaktivinoda asanas not otherwise mentioned in the book were established at Swananda Sukhada Kunj, at Yogpit, and at Purulia, a village within Jessore. On ground level was a large room utilized for guest reception. We went, remember? The first floor housed 4 Grihastha disciples: Shripad Kunja Bihari Vidyabhushan, Shripad Jagadish Bhakti Pradeep, Shripad Haripad Vidyaratna Kavi Bhushan, and Shripad Yashodananda Bhagavad Bhushan, and their families. On the roof terrace, which could seat about 250, was another chamber where Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati stayed with his treasured collection of books and manuscripts, which he frequently consulted for references to support points he was speaking on, or writing on. That's something like what we are doing, some renunciates and working people now here in this place. Although the rent of 50 rupees per month was far beyond the means of the householders residing there, with characteristic confidence, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati told them to depend on Krishna according to the maxim that he would reiterate throughout his life. Don't worry for money, preach, money will come. Kunja Babu then committed to pay half the balance to be covered by the others. Kunja Bihari Prabhu also undertook the management of Bhaktivinoda Asana. On his invitation, several well-known and learned men came to hear Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati and the editors of the English daily newspapers Amrita Bazar Patrika and Bengali regularly, and the Bengali, which is a newspaper, regularly featured his discourses in their publications. So the journal known as the Bengali the newspaper known as the Bengali put this section in the newspaper. His Holiness, the celebrated Tridandi Swami Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Thakur of Sri Mayapur Nadia has recently set up the Calcutta Bhaktivinoda Asana at number 1 Ulta Dingi Junction Road, Gauri Bihari, near the Pareshnath temple, with some devotees for the preaching of true Vaishnavism and to guard credulous people against false doctrines passing under the garb of Vaishnava faith for long, owing to the popular ignorance of the Vaishnava philosophy. His Holiness will always receive sincerely inquisitive visitors at the above address and explain to them and discuss with them as to what is really the most reasonable form of religion for the world's people. Actually, one very important visitor came there. What was his name? Abhay Charan De. He came there on the roof one day. His friend brought him and he met him. And he paid obeisance. Before he got up, he got the order of his guru to preach this movement in the West. Even before he got up from his obeisance. Then, anyway, we'll read about that later. During the day, continuous study of scriptural texts was conducted in the presence of Srila Saraswati Thakur. Although activities at Uldadingi Road, by the way, we are going to this place. You will see it. Have you been? You went to it. Right. You saw. Have you seen? It's known as the birthplace of Gaudiya Math and ISKCON. Because here, after this, ISKCON was established and Gaudiya Math was established. During the day, we read that. Although activities at Ultadingi Road had started with but few followers, his unflagging preaching attracted ever more listeners and gradually the numbers of disciples and admirers increased. Amid the swirl of activities, writing and publishing were not neglected. Within a year of instituting this Bhaktivinoda Asana, 6 books were produced. Deity service and other activities of the embryonic Calcutta Math was supported by begging door to door. And a note here given, although in the West begging is generally considered reprehensible, Soliciting of alms by monks is still widespread in traditional Asian cultures, wherein pious householders feel blessed to have an opportunity to make an offering to renunciates. In December 1918, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati continued his assault against the cheating of the caste Goswamis by fiercely touring the districts of Jessore and Khulna in the company of 10 devotees. So I'll give a background. What is this caste Goswami issue? In Gaudiya Vaishnavism, after disappearance of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his associates, some people appeared who were connected to the Panchatattva and the 6 Goswamis. Some were in the family, some had taken Diksha in the family, and they said only they can be gurus. And so no one else could be guru, no one else could be a Goswami, taking that position of pujari. And so this was a block in Gaudiya Vaishnavism, because it's mentioned in our Hari Bhakti Vilas that anybody who takes Diksha and follows this philosophy can himself become a guru. And Mahaprabhu said, Kiba Vipra Kiba Nyasi, Shudra Kene Naya, E Krishna Tattva Veti, Sei Guru Hai. Anyone can be a guru. So now, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur laid the foundation for ISKCON. ISKCON could not have been formed until this was broken. So this was one of his main activities. Also, the Smarta Brahmanas were stopping this principle, saying that no, only born Brahmanas could be Brahmanas. Jessore was home to numerous Smarta Brahmanas and also to Priyanath Nandi, the principal spokesperson of the Jat Gosais. Nandi's guru had given him the title Bhaktivinod, but Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati commissioned articles controverting that a counterfeit devotee was using the appellation of a contemporary Mahabhagavat. Nandi had reciprocally published many challenges to and ad hominem criticisms of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, which means he attacked his philosophy and his character. In his journal, Sri Krishna Chaitanya Tattva Pracharak. Two of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati's disciples, Sri Gaura Govind Vidyabhushan and Sri Priyanath Mukherjee, had responded with a book titled Pratipa Priyanathera Pratyatura, a reply to the opponent of Priyanath. Ultimately, Nandi was overcome by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati in a showdown in a Jessore village. The triumphant expedition concluded on 1st January 1919 with a Gala Sankirtan in the town of Bangaon, following which the party returned to Bhaktivinoda Asana. So he was successful in defeating that. Now we'll skip some parts to come to a section here titled Rapid Expansion. The mission unfolds. Just like our Srila Prabhupada, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta's preaching was very fast and it very quickly destroyed his opposition. He was an empowered preacher. From his base in Calcutta, Srila Saraswati frequently undertook preaching excursions. He concentrated on Bengal and Odisha, where many people were already steeped in Gaudiya culture and responded enthusiastically. It was a ripe field for enlisting the manpower needed to effectuate a Vaishnava reawakening. Now here, a small note. The Oriya, this is mentioned in the Harmonist, which was Bhaktivinoda Thakur's publication. The Oriya people have been devotedly attached to the teachings of Mahaprabhu ever since his residence in their midst under the garb of a sannyasi. There is thus the greatest chance for general acceptance of the true teachings of the Supreme Lord in the sacred land of Sri Jagannath Dev. As new recruits enrolled, they were trained and then sent out to preach and open more centers. In this way, the organization gradually spread throughout India and beyond. Beyond means Burma, even London, he established a center. Touring widely, speaking constantly, having his accompanying disciples also lecture and preach, and participating in mass Nagar Sankirtan parades, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati often spent entire days going from one function to another, regularly discoursing for 3 to 4 hours non-stop. 3 to 4 hours. Even when not formally orating, he was continuously surrounded by curious and often defiant inquirers, peppering him with questions. He took it as a sign of the times that everything presented would be challenged in various ways. He called it heckling and considered it his duty to answer each person individually, which he did with innumerable quotations from Shastra. Now, he had studied so much. Supported by keen logic and philosophical insight. By analytical comparison of different theories of knowledge, he delineated Lord Chaitanya's teachings as the ultimate exposition of reality, surpassing all relative truths, speculations, and ideations. He spoke not only with erudition, that means very fluently, without a gap, very learned delivery, but with force from the platform of certitude and realization. All living beings are eternal servants of Krishna, the original personality of Godhead, and thus the purpose of life is to surrender to Him. And in this dark Kali Yuga, the means to attain love of Krishna is to offenselessly chant the Mahamantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Previously, he used to go alone doing bhajan, but not anymore. It says here, no longer a solitudinarian, but the head of a thriving mission, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati was becoming a reputed and sought after sadhu. His enemies were neither few nor trivial, yet the number of his backers was also significant. Whenever he went, crowds received him with sankirtan, garlands, and often encomiums and formal speeches of felicitation. Even people with no previous interest in bhakti forgot their anxieties and became engulfed in the atmosphere of transcendental bliss generated by the extraordinary preacher's absorption in Harikatha. He now regularly met intellectuals, leaders of the British Raj and Indian kings, leaders of society. Many naturally pious people inclined to bhakti but lacking proper guidance hearkened to his call, being captivated by the genuine spiritual substance, absent in the conventional Hinduism, being offered by this unique and novel propounder of Vaishnava Dharma. Finding their heartfelt hankering fulfilled, they wholeheartedly accepted him as their savior and submitted as his disciples. Animated by the intrepid, unshakable, confident preaching of Srila Saraswati Thakur, his sannyasis and brahmacharis forayed into distant towns and villages. One thing that characterizes his mission is a large number of sannyasis and brahmacharis, main preaching force. They performed Nagar Sankirtan and went door to door distributing journals and soliciting contributions. We were not the first to do that. ISKCON does that. They started it. Traveling parties were usually headed by one or sometimes two pracharaks, often sannyasis, who were required to lecture and reply to the torrents of diverse questions and challenges they inevitably faced. Accompanying the sannyasis would be brahmacharis, including a kirtaniya, a skilled mridanga player, a cook, and one profession in collecting funds. Organized. Amazing. In pursuance of Sri Saraswati Thakur's order to go out preaching on foot, by car. My reading is eyes are not. To go out preaching on foot, by car, in boats, even riding on elephants. These parties ventured widely, often remaining only briefly in each spot, not just in Bengal and Orissa, but beyond, to bring Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's message to places where it had hardly been propagated before and was not known. So actually it was a tradition before that sannyasis will never ride a car, till even that time, and will go bare feet. But he said, go however you want, go by train, car, bus, elephant, just preach. This widespread aggressive grassroots propagation, quite atypical of traditional Hinduism, made Saraswati Thakur mission all the more revolutionary. It had not been done like this before in so-called Hinduism, that someone will preach on this level. So it made him a revolutionary. Awed by his nobility, insuperable willpower and uncommon influence, the famous Chitranjan Das termed Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Acharya Keshari, means lion guru. That Keshari means lion. In ISKCON, lion guru is rendered Simha guru. We normally say Simha guru, Bhaktisiddhanta. But this is not proper, because actually he was called Keshari guru. They translated that to lion. Now sometimes they want to turn lion to Sanskrit, so they say Simha guru. But it was Keshar, and there are different words for lion. Although it's not incorrect to refer to Srila Saraswati as Simha Guru, it being synonymous with Acharya Keshari, this term is not used in Gaudiya Math. In Gaudiya Math they don't say Simha Guru, they say Keshari Guru. Acharya Keshari. Chitranjan Das, who called him that, he was also known as Desh Bandhu, friend of the country. He was a prominent, wealthy advocate of Calcutta and hawkish leader of Indian independence movement. Sadhus and gurus are expected to be mild and polite, not at all like lions, but Srila Saraswati Thakur personified the lion-like qualities of his worshipable Lord Chaitanya. Chaitanya Singhera Navadvipa Avatar, Singha Griva, Singha Virya, Singhera Hunkar. Translation: the lion-like Lord Chaitanya appeared in Navadvip. He has the shoulders of a lion, the power of a lion, and the roar of a lion. Taken from Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Lila, chapter 3, text 30. Okay, again I'm skipping two important sections. Well, everything is important, but our time is less. Now, one important point, this is regarding preaching. Parikram 75. This is all regarding preaching. There's a lot here, you must read this one day. Okay, there's a section on Navadip Dham. Where is that? So, okay, at some point, Navadip Parikram was introduced. Can't seem to find it. Navadip Parikram was started by, who was the first person to do Navadip Parikram? Who introduced it? If you read Navadip Dham Mahatmya, Nityananda Prabhu took Haridas Thakur on Parikram, explained him all the islands, and till today, even in ISKCON, they follow the same sequence, everything. But it had stopped. But Srila Saraswati Thakur again revived it. And I can't find that place. This is mentioned. Okay, let's continue. Okay, so now, there was one time when they were going on Gauda Mandal Parikram, where there was an attack. Actually, the plan was to kill Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur because he was being successful in his mission against the caste Goswamis. Srila Saraswati Thakur had fearlessly and consistently contested the nefarious practices of false devotees, such as levying temple entrance fees, performing kirtan and reciting Srimad Bhagavatam for monetary gain, and becoming gurus by profession. Furthermore, he is propagating that Mayapur was the actual site of Lord Chaitanya's Avirbhav, was increasingly harming the business of the temple proprietors of Navadvip. The previous year, by organizing a quasi-religious meeting adjacent to the parikram during its stopover in Kulia, local caste Goswamis had ineffectually attempted to divert attention away from parikram of Siddhanta Saraswati. Therefore, tension between the two parties remained high. Conflict seemed inevitable. In defiance of the wobbly hegemony of the proffered Goswamis, on 4th March 1925, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati again marched into their stronghold. Right in the middle of their stronghold, he marched in, along with 600 to 700 followers, including many women, accompanying the small Sri Radha Govinda deities riding on an elephant. After resting at midday in a dharmashala, in the evening the party reassembled at the spot where Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati was to lecture. Shortly after pilgrims arrived, some rowdies showered dust, dirt, gravel, cow dung and garbage on them and raucously demanded that they stop kirtan. A local caste Goswami entered among the group and tried to incite a quarrel. But the parikram participants sagaciously remained calm and, to avoid any affray, unobtrusively dispersed into the dusk. They briskly returned to the dharmashala, being jibed at and threatened as they went. Considering that the parikram would not be complete without hearing about the pastimes of Mahaprabhu, that Mahaprabhu had enacted in that locale, the next morning, 100 to 200 pilgrims, mostly males, returned to the place where they had been intimidated the previous evening. While Srimad Tirtha Maharaj was lecturing, a gang of ruffians suddenly appeared and pelted brickbats at the elephant's trunk. Parikram attendees admonished the aggressors to desist from offensive act of harassing the deity's mount. And to their surprise, the rogues departed. But minutes later, they returned wielding large sticks, which they had kept ready in proximate shops. The defenseless pilgrims quickly brought the deities of Sri Radha Govinda down into their midst, thinking that surely these felons would not continue their atrocities in the direct presence of the Lord. Then a well-known rich man of Navadvip drove up in a car and barked out an order, upon which black guards lurking nearby, some perched on rooftops, led forth a volley of brickbats. The Mahot means the one driving the elephant, quickly maneuvered the elephant away from the trouble, but the escape was not so easy for the pilgrims. Some found shelter in homesteads, yet most doors remained shut. The few brave householders who dared offer refuge had their doors kicked in and beaten. Some devotees fled down adjacent alleys. Those who beseeched local coachmen to transport them were scornfully refused, and became further aghast to behold the horse carts loaded with stones as ammunition. Few devotees who tried to fight back were outnumbered and beleaguered. Bhakti Sharang Prabhu was captured and yet remained undaunted, asserting himself boldly, even though threatened to be offered as a human sacrifice on the spot. A few devotees suffered severe gashes and fractures. A youth was knocked unconscious. Mridangas and banners were broken. Kunja Bihari Prabhu was robbed of 600 rupees and his winter clothing. Although Navadvip streets became stained by the blood of Vaishnavas, by Lord Narasimhadev's grace, none was killed. Srila Saraswati Thakur had escaped due to the adroitness of Vinod Bihari Brahmachari, who had entreated a reluctant house owner to give him entry. Therein, Vinod Bihari, being similar in size, appeared in his Gurudev's, swapped his white cloth with the red of his Guru Maharaj. With great risk, he then escorted Srila Saraswati Thakur back to Mayapur. As was later, this happened earlier in Vaishnava history. Ramanuja, same thing. They exchanged his cloth, then he has fled to Melkote. He was by the ruler being attacked. As was later revealed by sympathetic local residents, the dastardly act had been planned by certain caste Goswamis, who mostly grossly offended both the deities and the acclaimed Acharya by an unconscionably hiring criminals to perpetrate violence on pilgrims engaged in peaceful chanting Harinam in a holy place, who should have been received as guests in the sacred dham. This was their rejoinder to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati's exposure of their cheating in the name of Lord Chaitanya. Having no power to counteract his message, They had stooped to the lowest level in trying to stop him. But stop him they could not. The shocked public sided with Gaudiya Math, and the pilgrimage continued under police protection. The flagitious tactics of the Jat Gosais had backfired, for this incident ineradicably tarnished their reputation and influence. Overnight, the caste Goswami's opposition to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati lost whatever credibility it had. So as the news spread, newspapers reported on it. 4 days later, Anand Bazar Patrika, it was written, I witnessed the reenactment of what Jagai and Madai did to Sri Nityananda Prabhu over 400 years ago. Subsequently, the chief police inspector of Navadip cashiered, and the next year the Parikram party was protected by an escort of 36 policemen. Srila Saraswati Thakur mentioned the episode in his commentary of Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat. He wrote like this, a few days ago in Kulia Nagar, some persons with the help of few fierce miscreants, rather than offering respect, unfairly attacked innocent Vaishnava sannyasis, brahmanas and devotee women, all of whom had come to participate in circumambulating the dham. All these are simply unfavorable activities against the teachings of Chaitanya Dev. When urged to make a case against the hooligan, Srila Saraswati declined, opining that they had done great service. Otherwise, how could the Gaudiya Math have been featured on the front page of all the newspapers? Okay, we'll stop here. There's a very interesting next section where he's speaking to brahmacharis and sannyasis and how they should behave. He wrote 15 points. Foppery and sloth. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada ki jai. Great service done.